journalist Joe McGinnis, who was writing a biography of Sarah Palin, rented a house next door to her home in Wasilla, but she took the picture of him, not the other way around. She unleashed thinly veiled allegations, not based in fact, which have led to death threats against the author, not the other way around. And a Wasilla newspaper has now ramped up the recklessness with an editorial which notes, humorously it claims, that deadly force may be used in protection of life and property in the state of Alaska. In our third story tonight, Mr. McGinnis has ended his silence. You'll recall that Palin posted a picture of McGinnis standing on the deck of the house he rented, and she wrote, "Wonder what kind of material he'll gather while overlooking Piper's bedroom, my little garden, and the family's swimming hole," which turned out to be a large lake that can be seen from space. Palin also called into Glenn Beck's radio show. McGinnis received 5,000 messages in 4 hours after high-pitched radio host Mark Levin gave out the email address. McGinnis has received death threats, and over the weekend, Wasilla's Matsu Valley frontiersman published an editorial which took a largely amused tone regarding the national media's fascination with the fence, the one that the Palin family built after Mr. McGinnis moved in next door. The paper ended its piece with a reminder that doesn't seem to fit that well, and of course cuts both ways. Finally, those who are fond of Joe McGinnis might remind him, if he doesn't already know, that Alaska has a law that allows the use of deadly force in protection of life and property. So when Mr. McGinnis appeared on the Today Show this morning, he was the one who might have been feeling a little like prey.
And I think it's probably a lesson for the American people of the power Palin has to incite hatred and her willingness and readiness to do it. She has pushed a button and unleashed the hounds of hell.
McGinnis also explained that his intention had been to approach the Palins privately about having rented the house next door so that it would not create such a flurry of publicity.
I wanted to tell the Palins directly, personally, face-to-face, and then hopefully work out with them some accommodation where we could all live peacefully, if not with great friendship, over the course of the next 3 months or so, until Labor Day. Sarah hysterically puts up this Facebook page with all sorts of ugly innuendo, which frankly, is revolting, the things that she has caused people to say about me. She has created all the publicity. I didn't expect any publicity at all.
Palin has now again posted her Facebook page to update it to read that the Today Show had failed to use any part of the statements that the Palins had submitted to NBC News in lieu of an interview. Let's call in Associate Editor, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist to the Washington Post, MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson. Gene, good evening.
Evening, Keith.
Mr. McGinnis is writing a book. Obviously, he's researched his subject pretty well, but he's just now learning what Sarah Palin can do with a preemptive publicity bomb.
You know, Joe McGinnis is a hero to my generation of journalists, but welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to the age of Facebook and social networking and polarization and really mean-spirited politics. And this is the world we live in now.
He also explained it was their next-door neighbor who approached him about renting that house, knowing he was in the market for a place, and his motivation was low price. But obviously the creepy thing has become just that it is the nightmare come true of all the paranoids who follow Sarah Palin. Is this one of those classic cases of Palin getting ahead of and sort of trumping the facts? As we saw, last summer's edition was death panels, and this one is, Joe McGinnis, child molester?
It seems to be. I mean, as far as I know, Joe McGinnis hasn't done anything except sit once on the deck. Nonetheless, creepy will develop a life of its own, just like death panels did. It's already being echoed by Drudge and the whole kind of echo chamber of the far right. And so it's going to be out there, and she's going to continue it in the absence of any sort of factual evidence.
In a subsequent interview with the Washington Post, Mr. McGinnis said that Todd Palin came over and got increasingly hostile as they talked about this, that Mr. Palin had asked Mr. McGinnis if he'd be installing microphones and surveillance cameras, and McGinnis said that was exactly what he would not be doing. The Palin Facebook post went up after that. The right is presenting this as a cautionary tale about the mainstream media again. Is it more like a cautionary tale for the mainstream media that the line about the pit bull might come back into play here right now?
I think it might, and I think it is a cautionary tale for journalists. Look, we should be bold, we should be unafraid, and we should speak truth to power. And you don't shy away from the subject of your biography. Nonetheless, you have to realize that that there are new resources, and there are these folks out there with a lot of anger, and so you need to, if not tread carefully, at least watch where you step.
If people say, I know that name and can't quite place it anywhere, you mentioned a hero to your generation. Joe McGinnis wrote The Selling of the President, which is probably the first, certainly the gold standard on the introduction of hard sell marketing into American politics. I studied it in high school, at which point he was only like 15 years older than I was. So I have longstanding respect for his judgment here. But if you're say the editor or the publisher of a political book, and you want, and the guy wants to live, the writer wants to live in the subject's natural habitat, whoever the subject was, would you not deliberately stay further away if your being there would feed this meme of borderline stalkerdom?
Yeah, I would kind of look at it a bit differently, actually. Who wants the subject to know exactly what you're doing at any given time, who you're talking to, who's coming in and out of your house? So I wouldn't want to be that close to the subject. There's a lot of skulking around that has to be done. You can't skulk if you're 20 feet away.
Yeah, that's Godfather 2, where they bring the guy's brother in from Italy and just sit him in the audience. That's what happens when you're close to, it's too complicated. Gene Robinson of the Washington Post, as always. Great thanks, Gene.
Great to be here, Keith.